80% must be sold to black partners. And I must emphasize, it's sold, it's not given. So there are no handouts that are given to black people.
Good morning, guys. Good morning once again. Welcome to South Africa Lately, a channel that discusses South African trending news. We do, however, grab here and there from international news when it is trending enough to be brought here. Please do understand that I'm not a politician. I do not have deep knowledge in politics. However, I am a South African citizen who's also a voter, and I do believe that my views count when it comes to political affairs of our beautiful country. Now, I want to rush my commentary so that we get into the crux of the matter. So if you are curious on how things are moving via Starlink and how South Africa feels about it, I'm about to share with you a video clip from the current affairs in the US, and we compare it with what the CEO of Black Business Council, Matabane, is saying. So he's debunking some of the lies. So also, something that I want to share with you before we get into that, I just want to read this screenshot for you. It's from the Kiffness, the pro-Elon Musk, the pro-Trump people, pro-AFRIFORUM people. He says, I doubt Elon Musk would accept the deal unless South Africa fully repeals BEE requirements for all businesses operating in the country. Can you imagine? The government's willingness to negotiate is promising, though. Shows what's possible if corporate South Africa grew a spine. I don't want to say much on that. What I'm about to do, I would like you to watch what the news is coming from the US as well as from South Africa.
Absolutely. And speaking of conversations, just earlier on yesterday, there was lots of talk about the Starlink deal, and that South Africa has already put something on the table for Elon Musk's satellite company before President Cyril Ramaphosa steps into the Oval Office today. And there's been lots of back and forth with Musk's side of things. His team is saying that they want something in writing from the South African government. Now, we understand that DA Minister Solly Malatsi is preparing to gazette an equity equivalent program to allow then for Starlink to be and other ICT companies to be able to operate in South Africa. It's a program that, in a way, if you're not going to be able to give 30% of ownership of your company to previously disadvantaged groups, then it's structured in a way that you either have a program that empowers the community, upskilling them, or in whichever way. And so we understand that Musk's team are saying put something in writing before you actually step into the Oval Office. Otherwise, Ramaphosa could face a bust up. On the other side, the South African delegation is saying that that article that was being run in Bloomberg, which intimated this particular deal, was actually planted by Elon Musk himself, and that he's trying to center himself in the current discussions and negotiations that are taking place behind closed doors, and that Starlink is but one of many things that are currently being negotiated by the likes of Park Stawu, the minister in the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. At the same time, Arabile, yesterday, Musk addressing the Qatar Economic Forum, where he doubled down and insisted that he cannot, as a South African-born tech billionaire, operate in our country because of some odd 140 race-based laws. And in that same breath as well, you also point you to a congressional hearing that where Senator Tim Kaine from the Democratic Party, you'll remember that he was actually on Hillary Clinton's ticket to become vice president, questioning this issue of the so-called 49 white Afrikaners. Who are they and why did they get special attention? I want you to take a listen to this.
Today's person.
Do you think Afrikaner farmers are the most persecuted group in the world?
I think those 49 people that came certainly felt they were persecuted, and they've passed every sort of check mark that had to be checked off in terms of meeting the requirements for that. They live in a country where farms are taken and land is taken on a racial basis.
Okay. Do you think they're more persecuted than Uyghurs or Rohingyas, or more persecuted than political dissidents in Cuba or Venezuela or Nicaragua, or more persecuted than those who would be threatened should they be returned to Afghanistan by violence by the Taliban.
Well,
let's get to more reaction to that, to Starlink matter. And we're joined by Black Business Council CEO KAYBEE Matabane. Mr. Matabane, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. So there you have it. Reports by Bloomberg that South Africa may be exploring this idea of giving Elon Musk a BE walk-around, an equity equivalent program to bring Starlink into the country. What do you make of that?
Good evening, Natalie, and good evening to the viewers. The broad-based Black economic empowerment legislation allows for equity equivalent, and most of the ICT companies, not the telcos, most of the ICT companies from the United States have opted for equity equivalent instead of selling stakes in their companies, because they are saying from where they come from, their parents' companies don't allow for selling of the stakes to other companies. But I'm saying the telcos are also governed by CASA and the other legislation that basically demands that 30% must be sold to Black partners. And I must emphasize, it's sold, it's not given. So there are no handouts that are given to Black people. Black people have to go and raise funds to buy the 30%. And Elon Musk knows that is not telling the truth. He's not getting the license not because he's not white, but it's because he doesn't want to comply with the laws of this country. We cannot in any way, and that doesn't happen in any country. You cannot change legislation to suit an individual. We are a sovereign country, we are a constitutional democracy. We should stick to the laws, because if we allow one company to circumvent the legislation, then we must allow all the other companies. Then we're going to have a lawlessness in South Africa. We must just basically stick to the laws that are there. If he qualifies like other ICT companies that qualified for the equity equivalent, then let it be, because he won't be the first one to qualify for that. But if we're going to have almost like an Elon Musk Act, that won't be acceptable, because we have to transform this country. Elon Musk knows very, very, very well as a beneficiary of apartheid that there were things that were not allowed for Black people. Black people were not allowed to participate in the economy. They were not allowed even to study mathematics, physical science. And you cannot just in 30 years' time and forget that those things have happened. Black people are still poor. If you look at basically all the negative things, the poorest of the poor are Black. Unemployment, people who are mostly unemployed are Black. Basically all the negative things that related to the legacy of apartheid are still affecting Black people more than any other race. So we have to correct those things. We have to correct them.
But what? Yeah, sorry, in the interest of time here, but what is it then that this delegation, ministers flanking the presidency, then does when they're in a precarious position where information that we're getting from Washington, D.C. at the moment is that Elon Musk's team has asked for that equity equivalent program assurance to come to them in writing by close of business today, and the threat being that if we do not have that meeting tomorrow with Donald Trump will be very ugly, if you will, for lack of a better use of words. So what then does our team then do?
Yeah, remember, President Ramaphosa is a very skilled negotiator. He negotiated our constitution, and as such, I don't think he's going to be threatened like that. You don't negotiate by putting a gun on someone's head. You negotiate by showing your side and then understanding the other side as well. So if I was part of the team and we were invited, I think some of our members are there. Is to advise the president to say stick to the law that we have, stick to the regulations that we have, and say if you qualify for equity equivalent, you'll get it like any other person who qualifies. So we should not, again, as I emphasize, we should not change legislations to suit individuals. We'll be setting a very, very, very bad precedent for South Africa, and that will create chaos in South Africa.
Yeah, so just for clarity, as the Black Business Council, you're saying that our team should turn down this plea, if you will, by Elon Musk and his people to have a BEE workaround in South Africa?
Yeah, definitely we should turn it down. Yeah, we should turn it down. And just for information, the Starlink is not the only what you call low orbit satellite in the world. There are other low orbit satellites companies from China and other places. So we can easily get those satellites from somewhere else. So he needs to come here so that he can compete with other players who are competing the same thing. So you can't have special dispensation for an individual. Will create a serious chaos that will never be able to repair.
Okay, you talked about your own members of the Black Business Council being there in Washington. I'm keen to hear who they are and what you expect their contribution to be, especially when you've got reports that Johan Rupert is in Washington as well, and in fact had a great deal to do in ensuring that there was interaction between the two leaders.
Yeah, remember the business delegation. Unfortunately, I can't devise their names, but remember people like the one you are talking about. They've bought into the black economic empowerment. If you look at these companies, they've done black economic empowerment transactions. There are black people on the boards. There are black people in executives. So they understand that we need to have a diversity in South Africa. We need to get the 92% of the population that are outside the economy. We need to get them into the economy, because that's the only way you are able to sustain the democracy. That's the only way you're going to be able to sustain the harmony that we have in South Africa. So we understand very well that he understands the dynamics in South Africa. He understands the dynamics in the United States. So he's not going to support a something that is not in accordance to our constitution. So we've got confidence in him that he'll also be able to back the interest of South Africa instead of trying to change legislation for an individual.
All right. We do appreciate your time. Thank you so much. KAYBEE Matabane there of the Black Business Council speaking to us in reaction to what may or may not be an agreement between Elon Musk's people and certainly the delegation that is also flanking the president in Washington, D.C.
As usual, guys, whatever your views are, kindly share them in the comment section. I'm looking forward to reading those. If time allows me, I'm going to definitely respond. But if time doesn't, I'm going to take time to react so that you know that I appreciate your interaction on my channel. I'll be seeing you in my next upload.